Hello, my name is Sarah Davis and I'm with Off the Beaten Path Consulting. I'm an HR fixer, so I fix those HR problems that people in companies don't have the ability or the capacity to fix. Today's topic, though, is going to be more about my journey into kind of how I got here today. So I labeled it perfection, perspective, and paths. A lot of P's there, but hey. Um, so I want to start out with in the left hand, maybe corner, I don't know, whatever corner, you'll see a painting, and the video is horrible. I didn't realize it was starting to be horrible until I was halfway through with the painting, and there was no way to repaint something, and my lighting was bad, and I have a window here, and I would have had to move everything to change the lighting. So you are going to see a bad painting in the corner that turns out into this, though. So bad things or negative experiences can turn into perfection, even if they don't seem like perfection at the beginning. So I have had a path that has had a lot of glitches in the matrix, just like you've seen with that video that's going there that turned into something wonderful. But I've also had some glitches in the matrix that didn't turn out so wonderful. And so today we're going to talk about those levels of perfection that we give to ourselves, a little bit of perspective, and a few of those paths that I've been down that got me to here, and how maybe some of my perspectives, my paths, and my lack of perfection can possibly help you out on your journey. Let's delve into it. Alrighty, as you can see, I had a wardrobe change because I recorded that first part yesterday, and then I had to stop recording and do the second part today. And there may even be a third part, so you never know. But we are going to continue now with perfection, perceptive or perception, and paths. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about my life, kind of in 3 or 4 chunks. The early years of Sarah, then the high school years of Sarah, and then we'll get into some adult things. Sometimes I don't think people give credence to their early past, how they grew up. Now, don't get me wrong, we should all be in therapy for how we grew up in some way or shape or fashion. But I'm talking about more along the lines of like the educational access that we have, the access to libraries, the access to information, just the access to the world in general. And so I grew up in a very small town in Michigan. I graduated with 47 people, if I'm remembering correctly. And I couldn't actually find any verification of that because I didn't keep any of my yearbooks. But I did look at this year's graduation, and it was 42. So I think I'm pretty accurate. A very small school with a very small library, and the closest public library, big public library, was a solid 30 minutes away. And I always felt like I was missing something, right? And the town was small, and the world was big, and I didn't have access to it. I didn't even get on a plane for the first time until I was later in high school. I was a junior in high school the first time I got on a plane, which is very, very interesting. And I still remember the first time I got on a passenger train, like a metro or a subway or something. That was even later. So I got on a plane before I even got on a subway. So my life was kind of small. And that kind of limited me. Remember those limitations that we have? That's kind of what I was talking about initially. And I I was, though, very lucky because I had a family that was very encouraging of reading and growing. And my grandparents bought me books. My mother took me to libraries in other cities, and the sun is coming through that window. Um, and this is just kind of funny because, as you know, in the intro, I talked about how the perfection of things and the recording of videos never quite turns out how you want. And I love the sun, and it's supposed to be 80 degrees and sunny today, but that sun is just kind of completely messing with my glare on my face. But we are just going to go through it because perfection is never going to be attained. Um, I was very limited. I felt like I was very limited, right? Hindsight is 2020. I had a lot of great things that happened in my childhood, but those limitations still did exist. And I had to grow through them and out of them as I went into college. We're going to get to that in a minute, though. I also had another barrier that if you ever want to talk about it one on one, I'm willing to give some details, but I had quite a few health related issues between seventh and ninth grade where I actually missed a bit of school and had to be in the hospital for significant periods of time. And that limited me too, right? Because of that, because of all those limitations, I didn't realize a certain thing about myself until I actually started taking important tests in life. And I mean those timed ones, right? Um, where I had to take the ACT to get into college, and there was some other things, but I completely bomb at timed tests. And so when I went to take the ACT, I am not going to tell you my score. Never, never, never. My score was so low that my mom was like, I don't know if you're going to get into a college. You need to try to retake it. So I did all like these test preps and things. And I was like confident I'm going to do it. I went in and got the same exact score the second time. So I ended up reaching out to a bunch of colleges, explaining to them, that I am just a bad test taker. Is there any way that I could do other things to, help my path in this? And so I did have a lot of extracurricular activities. I wrote a lot of good essays to different universities and colleges, and I ended up getting into a wonderful one. I went to Olivet College, which is now the University of Olivet, just recently this year, and it was amazing, and my world opened up. And you're gonna think, if any of you Google Olivet College or the University of Olivet, you'll be like, "That is in the middle of nowhere. It's a small college. What does she mean the world opened up?" But it really did. I had access to things that I had never had access to before. And it truly kind of opened me into seeing the world in a different way. And college can do that for everyone, right? And I had some great experiences for that. And at the end of that was kind of the first time that I truly grew as an adult. You would think that college would do that, but it was a lot of life lessons and things like that. But my growing as an adult is I found my first partner in life, and I acquired two kids. He had two children that I helped to raise for the next 13 plus years, and it was a wonderful experience. And that relationship has ended, but obviously my relationship with the children haven't. And it truly gave me perspective on life that I never had before. But it also brought a lot of craziness, right? And a few people that might be watching this understand what that craziness was. But you can just imagine between family things and exes and life and whatever, coming into a family that is somewhat ready made is cause for a little bit of non-perfection, I guess, would be the key. But I graduated with that bachelor's degree in psychology and moved in with my new family, my wonderful family. That that would have been the year of 2000. Oh my gosh, that was so long ago, right? And it was a great experience. But we're going to flash forward now to give or take, it was like 2015. The relationship had ended. I am trying to figure out my next steps in life. I have a lot of experience with nonprofit work. And I decided to go and work with this guy who is starting a new startup nonprofit. He's building a nonprofit, and I have a lot of nonprofit experience, and I'm going to help him build this. Well, 3 months in, he hasn't paid me. I had quit my job. He hasn't paid me. I am getting, eviction notices from my apartment complex. He's on a yacht in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean answering from a sat phone saying he can't pay me. He had 2 board members at that point. Well, we did, because I was helping to build this. I call the 2 board members. One of them helps me pay rent out of his pocket for a month just so I don't get evicted. It is crazy. I had to borrow money from people. I had to figure out life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it made me realize that I was possibly too trusting, right? That those things, that non-perfection, right? I definitely was too trusting. And I had to back out of that and figure out my next steps. And so education is always my fallback, right? If you don't know what to do, take a class. Now I took kind of an extreme view of that because I decided to go back for my master's degree. I decided that I needed to take that next step to build my career and grow a little bit more. And so for the next couple of years, I did just that. I worked with a military nonprofit, and then upon graduation with that master's degree, I was able to start working at the Red Cross, which was super exciting. And it all worked out for the best, right? And that's kind of where that perspective part of the P comes in. While you're going through it, it is a horrible, no good, crazy experience, and you're crying every day and you're wondering how you got into this and you feel that there's no way out. And then when you get through it and you realize you're a little bit stronger and you've learned a couple life lessons, you have that perspective of how you can pull yourself up and lean on people and make things happen in a little bit of a different way than you had planned, right? But it's all good in the end. And so at this point, remember, I was in Michigan, and at this point, I am in Maryland. Yes. And I lived in Maryland for a hot minute, about in Frederick, Maryland, which is about, give or take, an hour from Gettysburg, an hour from DC, an hour from Baltimore. So I was kind of in a really good place to explore and to grow and to expand things. And I allowed myself to do that, but also my career at that point with the Red Cross allowed me to do that. And I was able to see things that I would never been able to see and grow in ways I never thought I would either, because I was working in disasters and I didn't cause disasters. No, I was helping with them. So I was working with people at the aftermath of tornadoes, hurricanes, home fires, varieties of things. And I was helping people get through that and helping the communities get back to some semblance of normal after that. But I had the great luck and ability to be able to be part of that and to grow and to be able to help people through some of the most devastating times of their lives. And you gain that perspective on what's important, right? First and foremost, a quick side note, renter's insurance and homeowner's insurance is very important. So if you are renting right now and you don't have renter's insurance, stop this video, call somebody, get renter's insurance. Okay. Um, if you have car insurance, most car insurance will add it on. So like if you're, there's always that option. Most car insurances will do that. But if not, call any insurance company and it's really cheap. You can get a great policy to cover a lot of things for like $20 a month. There's my commercial, renter's insurance. But again, it's all about perspective on what's important, right? When you see someone who has lost their dog during a fire, you know what? Sometimes the things in your life don't look as bad, right? Because you realize that there are things that are very important that you could be losing, and you should be thankful for where you are and what you have. So that perspective was very interesting too. Something that I gained from that. So going through all of this, though, from younger years all the way to the Red Cross, one of the things that I realized is that I am the person that people come to fix things, and that's one of the things that I did with the Red Cross, and it's one of the things that I do with a lot of people, with friends and colleagues and things. I come up with solutions, and give or take a solid 15 years ago now, I started doing some consulting, some resume building for people, some career path planning, working with some companies to solve smaller problems and things that they didn't have the capacity to fix, right? Kind of like assistant type things. And I realized that I am good at solving problems. So, how do I build this into a company, right? And that's what we're going to talk about now. We're going to talk about taking your skill set and building a company out of it. So, I knew that people came to me for solutions. I was the person where I can't get this to work. Let's ask Sarah. I don't know how to move ahead. Let's ask Sarah. And this isn't bragging. It's just, I think I'm able to see things from, 5 different perspectives when a lot of people can only see from their own. And not everyone has that skill set. And I decided to build a company around it. Now, like I said, I've been doing this for quite a bit of time, but only about a few years ago did I actually name it and formalize it into Off the Beaten Path Consulting. And that is when I decided I am a human resource consultant. But it never fit, right? It was never the right title. It wasn't really what I wanted to do. It's not just about human resources. It's about making things better. It's about fixing problems and coming up with solutions. And so that's when I came up with that title of HR Fixer. And I decided to truly embrace that. So, how do you embrace that though? What is the first step? So, the first step is going to sound funny because I had never had a job that was truly just HR. So, I figured I can't be an HR fixer, even though I have all the skill set and all the knowledge and all of that, until I actually have had a job that is in HR. You gotta have a path, right? So I started working somewhere, and I'm not going to tell you where because you'll know why at the end of the story. So I started working at this place, and I learned a lot because I was able to truly set everything up from scratch. I had said I wouldn't be part of a brand new company, remember, because that guy didn't pay me. I told you about that earlier. But this was a brand new company, but they had funds already. I verified that. And so I knew that I was going to get paid, and I had the opportunity to do everything from scratch. I got to write the employee manual, set up health insurance, insurance, create, the DEI policies for the company, doing all of those things from scratch, as well as accounting processes and procedures. So I got to set up QuickBooks and all the accounting codes, and I learned so much about setting things up versus just running things, which was my experience in the past. So I had always run things, and I'd done HR, and I had did a lot of things within that, but I never set it up from scratch, and it was an amazing process until some things started happening. And one of the things you maybe have done at this point is done some math or looked at my gray hair. I am not a spring chicken, right? So I think I mentioned earlier that, I graduated high school or college in 2000, right? So if you do some math, you can kind of get my age, okay? However, I will just tell it to you because I'm 46, so I am no spring chicken. But everyone on this team that I was working for, where I was building all of these things, were all significantly younger than me. In fact, 15 to 20 years plus younger than me. And something started to happen where the people around my age were all laid off. And then one day I get laid off. Now, you would think HR, I should have saw it coming. But in all actuality, there was always a reason for the other people to be laid off. And I never fell within those reasons, so I didn't expect it. And the day that it happened, I knew that we were cleaning house of, for lack of better terms, the older people. And I actually, for the first time in my life, filed an EEOC complaint. And I knew that I was being a victim, and I hate that word, but being a victim of ageism. And it was very eye-opening because, number one, I've had this Cruella de Vil stripe, or whatever you want to call it, storm stripe, since high school. Now, I dyed my hair for a very long time, but I've had this stripe of gray for since I was like 16 or 17. And so I've always tended to look a little bit older than I was if I didn't dye my hair. But I've never been treated like this. I've never put all of the things together and realized that they were cleaning house of older people. Now I'm going to give you a second lesson. Remember, we talked about doing insurance. My second lesson will tell you that certain EEOC complaints or things that you can file for don't count if the team is under a certain amount of employees. I didn't know that until this process started. And because it was such a small team at the time of me being let go, I couldn't prove that it was ageism or age discrimination. The team was too small to be able to prove that. Now, because of the amount of people that were older that they laid off, it was pretty simple to see. But since I didn't fit the qualification of the amount of people that were employed by that company, I couldn't follow through with that EEOC complaint. So make sure that you read all of the details. And I am now a pro, at least at age discrimination, because I have learned all there is to know about it. So if you do have questions about that, I actually do have a presentation that walks through the process, and I can send that to you, or we can set up a call to talk about that. But that was a very big change in my life. It was one more thing that I wanted to make sure didn't happen to anyone else. And that is when I actually started to say, I am an HR fixer, right? Even if I wasn't using those words, I wanted to make sure that all these bad things, all these experiences I had, all the good things that I have had are either experienced or not experienced in the future. I want people to know that HR can be beneficial for them, even if they are always on the side of the company. There's things that you can do. There are places you can go. There are people you can reach out as an individual or a small business to make sure that your HR is doing exactly what it should be doing for your company and your employees. And I wanted to make sure that I was able to fix those things. So again, remember education. I have my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, and I started thinking about what is the best way to help companies and individuals. And that is to have all the knowledge necessary. So last fall, I decided to go back for my doctorate. Education for me is always the solution. It was the solution to get out of my, limiting area of where I grew up. Remember, I felt very limited, very constrained. College opened that up for me. When I wanted to grow and be in a different situation than the types of, nonprofits and things that I was going into, and that guy that fired me, when I wanted to make a change and have a different, path, education was what got me there. And I went for my master's degree. And then, as that growth in me and that age discrimination concept happened to me, I realized I needed to be even more for the people that I want to help. And that's what I'm doing now. I am building my company still. It's growing every day, and I'm growing as a person as I'm getting my doctorate. I will be complete with that in 2026. So it is a process, but I'm super excited for it. So basically, all this is me telling you kind of the story of my life, and I don't even know if people want to hear it. But now we're going to get into just some I don't know, recap, I guess. So don't let medical things get you down, because that's what happened with me in high school. I decided to let it overtake my life a little too much. But one of the things as growing up, because just so you know, those issues have continued throughout my whole life. So it's not something like I was sick and now I'm not. It's something that's continued my whole life and I've had to live with my whole life. But as you grow, you make different decisions and better decisions. We all make better decisions than we did in high school, right? And you learn how to live with things and make things happen the way that you want them to happen versus how, fate or whatever is going to happen. To quote, Hamilton, I am the one thing in life I can control. So I can control my emotions, I can control my reaction, and I can control my next steps. Even if you can't control what's happening right in front of you, you can control the next step. Additionally, don't let career setbacks impact your self-worth. Okay. The guy that didn't pay me, all of that work I did, if I could explain that situation, you would be like, oh my God, that guy is crazy. And I didn't realize it, but at the time, I realize it now. But taking those situations and growing from them instead of letting them collapse you and control your next steps. Additionally, being fired for age discrimination or because of age discrimination, I didn't let that set me back. I actually used it as fuel for my next steps. And I just want you to start thinking about what are the things that are holding you back and how can you use them as fuel? That is it for today. I again encourage you to watch everything on the Creative Spirit channel. Support your creators, support the people that are putting this all together, Jeanette and Jen, and definitely reach out if you are ready to grow your business. There are so many things that can happen with human resources before you even are ready for your first hire. So if it's something you're considering, let me know. And if you already have staff, definitely let me know. And there are many ways that I can help you and ways that we can partner to make your adventure, your craft, your business bigger, better, stronger. So good luck in everything, and watch my other videos for some tips and things on how to move forward with your company. This is HR SOS, Navigating the Chaos, and I look forward to hearing your story at some point too.